Hey, what's up, everybody? Lawler here. Another Sunday means another Q&A video. I think we're at number 18 now, which is actually pretty crazy. Keep your questions coming as always. If you guys would like your questions answered from week to week, make sure you drop those in the comments down below. As for last week, thank you for all the birthday wishes. Very kind of all of you, and I do greatly appreciate it. But let's get into the questions for this week. What's up, everybody? Lawler here, inside source for all things Rocket League. We got Q&A number 18 and a lot of focus actually about coaches. There's a lot of people that have been inquiring about RLCS coaches, where they come from and everything else. We'll be targeting that for a little bit. But before we get into those, we have a newer fan that has a question. Johnny Heaton asks, this is a genuine question as I've only started playing and watching Rocket League in about March. So pretty much RLCS 10 is when he started watching. He's currently high diamond and low champ, and I don't understand the whole concept of how a map can change how teams play. I come from playing competitive Call of Duty, and there's quite obvious that teams can be better at different maps, but I don't see how that works in Rocket League. Right now, there's two different ways you can kind of focus on this and two ways that you can interpret this, and I'll try to do both. Right now in Rocket League, when you play in the competitive scene for RLCS, there is no difference. It's just a visual difference. All the maps are considered a standard map. They follow the exact same layout, and they look the exact same, except for aesthetics when it comes to like the background and stuff on the floor. There is some maps that people don't like because there is like visual bug issues or FPS issues and their computers don't run as smooth and stuff like that. But when it comes to the actual like RLCS competitive scene, whether it's Aquadome, DFH Stadium, Manfield Night, my favorite, or any of the others, identical. They're the exact same. Just visual changes from map to map. Now, there is a big conversation from the difference between standard and non-standard maps, and maybe that's what you're leading towards. If you are playing a map like the original Neo Tokyo or the original Wasteland, the difference in map, especially in a game like Rocket League that is physics-based, it changes the way the ball bounces or what you get used to when it comes to reading the ball. For a lot of these players that have tens of thousands of hours, if I am used to seeing the ball hit a certain place on the wall and being able to read the trajectory of that, and that changes as soon as you change up the way the map looks, whether it's taller or shorter or wider or longer or whatever it may be, which just isn't a thing. Psyonix has stated that they want Rocket League to become a traditional sport, and therefore the field size is the same, just like you see in the NFL and the NBA and everything else. They want to keep that 1-to-1. I think a long time ago, if they would have made the classification of standard and non-standard not a thing, and they were both together, where you played just as many non-standard maps as you played standard maps, and you got a 50-50 mix rather than like 1 out of every 10, then players would have a reason to practice and play those. And I actually think it would have led to people being better. Not only would it have pushed the envelope for Rocket League and given us map bans and map picks, which I think is something in the world of depth that is very much so missing from the RLCS. We've already set a precedent that we're not going to be doing that. So I, in a perfect world, would have had, you know, crazy maps, and not like too crazy where they're like all over the place like Lethmir's, but I mean like, yeah, this map's a little bit wider, so it's better for dribbling and passing in field, or this one's a little bit taller, so aerials and stuff are more important. Seeing different things like that and having a map pick ban phase in the RLCS, I think would be awesome for analysis. It would add a lot of depth to the game. You could have teams that have pocket picks, like in Counter-Strike, having Cobblestone as their backup, or, you know, things like that. But when it comes to the actual competitive scene, or when you play ranked in game, there is no difference between the maps other than visuals. I hope that answers your question to the degree you want it answered. Up next comes from Hornet. It says, lots of teams across RLCS have coaches, some being former pros. And I've actually got some follow-up questions to this one as well. How do coaches that aren't former pros get their names into the RLCS scene? I'm talking these high caliber professionals. How do these coaches get recognized by RLCS organizations? I'm looking at certain people like McLando, Jazza, Gregan, Verge, etc. These guys aren't known for competing in RLCS as players, yet they're the top dogs in coaching their squads. Most of them do an amazing job based on results, but you don't often see where they originate from or what they did to break into the RLCS barrier. So coaching comes into a multitude of ways. Fun fact, most in the past were just friends. You also see that a lot with managers coming into teams, especially with young kids. They're just like, yo, let's bring our friend along for the course. And that has definitely evolved over the years. If you're not a former pro, I mean, Jazza was a good buddy of Kronovi's growing up and still is, and it was kind of the way you got it. But again, that's not meant to diminish or discredit the hard work and effort that some of these people put in. A lot of times, and most of the way, is through the same way that many of us get started casting: sheer hard work and determination, the ability to sit down and grind hours upon hours upon hours and try to build a name for yourself, whether it be through your own YouTube channel. For those that don't know, Gregan's most popular series that I still reference to this day is one called Tabletop Tactics. It's the concept of him using a top-down camera and using tabletop with like little like Hot Wheels cars to showcase rotations and very basic information as an educational learning side of things. And these little things and nuances, and being able to showcase on a regular level that they understand the game at a high level, is part of the reason why they get picked up. I mean, these guys don't get to stick around unless they're good at what they do. Jaws has been with G2 for so long now. McLando, who is also a high level player, also has respect as being not only a competitor and ranked, but also from his peers based upon the way that he carries himself. Some of these guys that may not be known to the general public are well known by the back end of the community and the pro scene, but a lot of it is through hard work and also putting themselves out there. A lot of these guys, whether it be streaming or YouTube content or whatever, showcase day in and day out that they coach and that they help. People doing replay analysis on streams, things like that are how you kind of earn that respect. And eventually, maybe some of those people will tune into the stream and say, hey, wow, this guy actually, I really like what he's saying. And then they give them the attention. Maybe they give them a shot to try out for a coach. There's also many other things that can go into it, but primarily the way that I think it's done the best is you kind of got to start and work your way up. You're not going to just jump straight into the RLCS. You have to start with the bubble team and then kind of go into the RLRS and then promote into the RLCS. And that's kind of the easiest way to do it, even though there is no real easy way. A lot of the times with coaches and stuff, it is, hey, I was coaching this RLRS team back when the rival series was a thing. We promoted it into the RLCS. We did okay. Well, now that that team's kind of disbanded, this coach is still looking for work and has proven themselves. And that tends to be the way. If you can coach a team and build them and grow them into something, you got to have some sort of resume. Just like any other job, you've got to show that you have experience doing it. And a lot of people don't realize that. You can go to the Wikipedia pages of all these coaches and you can see the teams that they've been with as coaches. And you'll start to notice, like, okay, there is a trend here. These guys are good at what they do. And yeah, I mean, Jazzo, Lando, Gregan, all Verge, Kale, Mout. I mean, I'm surprised you put Mout in there because Mout is actually a pretty good competitor. This is a thing where, like, if you go and do your homework and look up some of these pages on Wikipedia, you'll recognize that these players are not only, some are former players, but they're also high-level players, high-ranked, and just have been doing it for a really long time. And kind of how it works in esports, the sooner you get involved, especially if the scene is just starting to develop. I mean, a lot of the guys that you're talking about have been here since pre-RLCS. Before RLCS was even a thing, some of these guys were involved. So that is part of it. But again, they put a ton of time and effort and work into it. And it's not just immediate into RLCS. They've got to build themselves from that moment. Now, as a follow-up to that, we do have another person who has two more questions. Number one, what's the role of a coach? For example, what can someone like Sizz tell to Garrett, Squishy, and Justin? And this is actually a great way to boast about what these coaches do. For those that don't know, the role of a coach is different for every single team, and it is not a one-size-fits-all. It is not a one-to-one thing. When a coach coaches one team, and then if that same coach is to go to another team, their role may change, and what they're required of them may change. They may have a different style or a different thing that they do that's consistent, that makes them unique to other coaches, but when it comes from team to team, it's always going to be different. The general thing of a coach is to make your team as good as possible based upon the skills that they have. Your job as a coach is to basically look at the talent that you have, find their specialties, find out what they like, find what they're most comfortable in, and learn about their nuances. If I'm sitting there with Garrett, Squishy, and Justin, I'm going to look at their playstyles and see, what do you guys do and what is the most natural way for you guys to play this game? What do you like instinctively? Because when we are under pressure, when we're under big moments, if you guys fall back into habits, I want these habits to be the ones that we've built on, not where we're reverting back to something that's not the play style that we've been working towards. That is always easier said than done. Sometimes you have too many similar roles and you can't necessarily make that happen. Case in point, Squishy used to be a really, really good aggressive player, high scoring, create a lot of opportunities for Gimmick. On energy, he's extremely defensive, but that's also because those mechanics allow him to bail them out of tough situations. He has really good decision making. When he's on defense and he's in the back third and he's waiting to collect boost or get his teammates back into position because they're out of rotation or whatever it may be, he's there to bail them out of that situation, and it works incredible. What energy and Squishy primarily, and I've said this in previous videos, Squishy is underrated to me right now. I think he's absolutely incredible what he does for energy, even if it's not the ceiling shot, double tap nonsense that we've seen him do in the past. I mean, Justin's not even doing that anymore. So Siz's role, and he's going to be the one that's able to tell you about this more directly, because obviously you don't really get to hear a lot about coaches, which is why I think you guys are asking. But what Siz does is not just replay analysis and trying to teach them certain things. Siz is a former pro. Siz definitely knows what the hell he's talking about. He's very good at the game still. Even though it may not be, you know, pro level, he's still a way above average player. What Siz does, I can't speak for him directly, but for a general sense of what coaches do is they're there not only to help the teams be more efficient when it comes to replay analysis, pointing out flaws and errors. Like, all these pros know exactly what they do and don't do well, but it's more so to provide a different perspective that is respected. These players respect the coach. That's why he's on the team, and his opinion is and has weight to it. So if Siz is saying like, hey, Garrett, this thing's happening, have you recognized or done this thing or checked it from this perspective? And it's to get Garrett thinking about a different perspective or a different ideology based upon how he's approaching the game. He's also there as a mental backbone in high pressure situations and big moments and, you know, championships and stuff like that. Sometimes you kind of get tunnel vision. You get brought into the game and you're still so hard focused on some of the mistakes. And you've got another guy who's not involved in the game that can take a step back and say, hey man, they're doing these things. Let's re-encourage the things that we're doing. Instead of you guys getting so hard focused on the game, let's take a step back. Let's take a breather. You know, don't forget these things. Make sure we're doing these things. By the way, I'm also analyzing the other team and what they're doing, and I'm building a strategy to counteract that. Those are some of the basic things, but coaches do a multitude of things. Every coach may have their own different things that they like to do and don't do or whatever it may be. But a lot of it is for like mentality, as well as just making them the best versions of themselves they can. This is something that I highly recommend if you do want to know more about. Go into one of these coaches' streams when they are streaming. They all stream all the time, and ask them. Be like, yo, Siz, hey, I honestly don't know what coaches do for the RLCS. Can you tell me about what you do for NRG? I'm really interested to hear about it. Don't take it in the approach of be like, yeah, coaches don't do anything. What do you do? Take it in the approach of being genuinely interested in like, I actually have no idea what coaches do for the RLCS. Would you be willing to tell me about your experiences? Maybe he'll give you a really good answer. The second question was, why do we need a rank reset every season? I can understand why we'd have to grind for rewards, but it alone doesn't really require a reset. You still have to win the same amount of matches at specific or higher rank to get the reward. And those resets can really screw up matchmaking for a couple first weeks when you get everyone from Plat to GC in one lobby. I can tell you that's just not how it works. The reason for a reset is literally to reset it. It's a new season. You're starting again from scratch. They do a soft reset as compared to a hard reset. A hard reset would be taking literally everybody and putting them back down to a neutral MMR, and everybody's got to climb out, which would make a lot of people angry, except for us higher level players. Yes, I include myself in that because the average is like Plat or Diamond, and I have not been that since season 1. So I'm going to consider myself a higher level player. I would love for a hard reset because I would have more than like 2 days of grinding ranked for the entire season. Because when the new season starts and it's a soft reset, I play for 2 days, get my ranked rewards, and then I'm done for the season. And that's another 4 months of nothing, no reason to play because I'm not pushing for Supersonic Legend. The reason they reset it every season is to basically adjust the MMR experience. They are trying to recalibrate what the inflations are for, because if you never reset the MMR, everybody is going to get their rank, and then they're just going to keep climbing up and keep climbing up. So even if you're bronze, in theory and in time, you and all your other bronze people should move up. And that's just going to keep happening. And if there's no new influx of players, the bell curve, or where the average players, is just going to keep gradually going from Plat to Diamond, Diamond to Champ, Champ to Grand Champ, Grand Champ. And it's just going to keep shifting up. So you have to reset it to an extent. You have to take into account how well the person did last season, as well as the average those two numbers together. That is where you place, and then you try to grind from there. But if they never reset it, literally everybody would be Supersonic Legend within the next couple of seasons, because there would just be a general gain of MMR that never went down, ever. Local GC1 says, can you tell us about your tattoos? What are they? What do they mean? And when did you get them? I've been getting tattoos as soon as I turned 18. A month after 18, I got my first one. I'm not going to just remove my clothing to show you all my tattoos. I used to work in sales, so I had to cover all my tattoos. The only one that's really visual at a regular basis is obviously my sleeve. My chest is covered. I have a side piece. My calves are done. I will also be getting my second sleeve started in November, which I'm really excited for. I've got 5 appointments booked. I'm going to be pumped. All my tattoos have various meanings to me. I, again, obviously get my tattoos for me and no one else, but they have various life lessons and meanings that carry through. Stuff about balancing positive and negative emotion, which is what my sleeve is about. Being free thinking, not being afraid to say yes and challenge myself, and different things that have personal meaning to me. If you ever want to know specifics about what they are, what they look like and stuff like that, stop by my stream. I stream every day on twitch.tv/Lawler, except for Tuesday and Sunday. It's kind of weird to do it for a video, especially when we're doing like Rocket League questions and stuff. But if you come by the stream, I'll show you that stuff anytime you want. Last but not least, we got a question from Joe. It says, do you have any favorite casters from other games that aren't Rocket League? Yes. I think that personally, if you go and watch Counter-Strike, you will find some of the best casters in all of esports. I don't know what it is about the pacing. I don't know what it is about the way they build storylines. I don't know about the cadence or how they do it. But for some reason, Counter-Strike casters just are built different. They're so good. I've been lucky to work with some of them, whether it be Machine or otherwise. But yes, there's a lot of really talented esports commentators out there. I try to watch a bunch of different esports just to get different perspectives and listen to the way that they construe their words or the way that they present arguments, or whether it be analyst desk or in game, it does not matter. I grew up, Rivington the Third from Riot was kind of my inspiration. Both him and Kobe, I absolutely loved when I watched League of Legends as a kid. But between Counter-Strike, I mean, who do you pick? I mean, Moses, all of them are so good. Someone that I've worked with as well, huge fan of Onset. If you guys don't know Onset, he's done some Rocket League stuff, does a lot of FIFA and Apex Legends. He's doing the ALGS with Gaskin. That is a phenomenal duo. If you guys have ever gotten the chance to watch Apex Legends competitive, Onset and Gaskin is goated. I'm very lucky that I've also am with a talent agency by Character Select Agency, or the CSA, and they cover the best talent in all of esports. AAA, like Golden Boy and everybody else is on there, and a lot of really, really talented people that I've been lucky to call friends and learn from and get advice from and bounce ideas off of, which have made me better at my own craft. So yeah, I think Counter-Strike probably has some of the best talent overall out there, and I'm very lucky that I've gotten to work with some of them as well. That is going to wrap it up for today's Q&A Sunday. If you guys have additional questions for next week, as always, drop them in the comments down below. It is always greatly appreciated. These are still my favorite series because they allow me to interact with you guys on kind of like a one-to-one, even though I'm talking to a collective, which is kind of weird how that works. But if you guys do enjoy the content, as always, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and I am going to go watch the Green Bay Packers game that is on right now with some friends because I'm hanging with Lane at my place. See you next time. Peace.